The city is a beast, all noise and steam and a million hurried heartbeats. Mine is the loudest one I can hear. It's a frantic drum against my ribs, a wild bird trapped in a cage of bone, threatening to shatter everything. The crowd presses in, a suffocating wave of bodies and cheap perfume and exhaust fumes. I'm trying to disappear, to become another anonymous face in the river of humanity flowing down the cracked pavement. But I can feel his eyes on me. I always could. It's a sixth sense I developed over 2 years of looking over my shoulder, a prickling on the back of my neck, a sudden drop in temperature that has nothing to do with the autumn air. I risk a glance behind me. There, Mark. He shoves past a couple holding hands, his face a thundercloud of familiar rage. His eyes, the ones that once looked at me with something I mistook for love, are now narrowed into hateful slits. He's seen me. Of course he's seen me. It feels like he has a homing beacon locked onto my fear. Panic, cold and sharp, slices through me. My breath catches. My feet feel like lead blocks cemented to the sidewalk. I can't move. My mind screams at my body to run, to hide, to do anything, but I'm frozen. The memories flash behind my eyes. A slammed door, the shatter of a glass, his voice, low and venomous, twisting my reality until I didn't know which way was up. No, not again. Not here, in the open, where everyone can see and no one will do a thing. The city is a beast, all noise and steam and a million hurried heartbeats. Mine is the loudest one I can hear. It's a frantic drum against my ribs, a wild bird trapped in a cage of bone, threatening to shatter everything. The crowd presses in, a suffocating wave of bodies and cheap perfume and exhaust fumes. I'm trying to disappear, to become another anonymous face in the river of humanity flowing down the cracked pavement. But I can feel his eyes on me. I always could. My paralysis breaks. Adrenaline floods my veins, hot and sharp. I turn, stumbling forward, pushing blindly into the throng. I need an escape, an anchor, anything. And then I see him. He's standing just outside a sleek, black car that hums with quiet power, a driver holding the door open. He's not part of the chaos. He's an island of stillness in the middle of it. He wears a suit so exquisitely tailored, it looks like a second skin, a dark gray that absorbs the light around him. His shoulders are broad, his posture radiating an authority that makes people give him a wide berth without even realizing why. A sharp jaw, dark hair swept back from his forehead, and an expression of bored indifference. He is the opposite of Mark's frantic, uncontrolled anger. He is absolute, unshakable control. I don't think. I just act, propelled by a desperation so profound it eclipses all reason. I surge toward him. 3 steps. 4. I'm close enough to smell the clean, sharp scent of his cologne, something like cedar and expensive leather. I reach out, my hand trembling, and clutch the hard muscle of his forearm. The fabric of his suit is cool and smooth beneath my frantic fingers. He doesn't startle. He doesn't even flinch. He simply turns his head, a slow, deliberate movement. His eyes find mine. They are not brown, not black, but the color of whiskey in a dark room. Deep, dangerous, and to my horror, laced with a flicker of amusement. The world seems to tilt, the cacophony of the street fading into a dull roar. In this moment, there is only the weight of his gaze. Please, I whisper, my voice raw and shaky. I press myself closer, trying to shield my body with his, putting him between me and the monster hunting me. Just play along, please. A perfectly sculpted eyebrow arches. A ghost of a smile touches his lips, a chilling, predatory curve. He glances over my shoulder, his gaze flicking to Mark, who has stopped a few feet away, his face contorted with confusion and fury. Then those dark eyes return to me, pinning me in place. He sees the terror in my face, the wild plea in my eyes. He sees it all, and it seems to entertain him. "You've got guts, Dolcezza," he murmurs, his voice a low, gravelly rumble that vibrates through his arm and straight into my soul. Sweetness. The word sounds like a threat. Before I can process it, his arm, strong as steel, snakes around my waist. He pulls me flush against his side. It's not a gentle gesture. It's a statement of ownership. His hand rests possessively on my hip, his thumb drawing a slow, deliberate circle that sets my skin on fire. The gesture is so intimate, so proprietary, it makes my breath hitch. I am rigid in his grasp, a doll made of ice and fear. He leans down, his lips brushing the shell of my ear. The warmth of his breath is a shocking contrast to the cold dread filling me. "But do you know who you just claimed?" I shake my head, a tiny, jerky movement. I don't know. I don't care. All I know is that Mark has frozen, his bravado faltering in the face of this man's silent, overwhelming power. "Juliette?" Mark's voice is a pathetic bleat. "What the hell are you doing? Who is this guy?" The stranger, my stranger, straightens up, but he doesn't release me. If anything, his grip tightens. He looks at Mark with an expression of such profound disinterest, it's more insulting than any glare. It's the look one gives an insect before crushing it underfoot. "She's with me," he says. His voice isn't loud, but it cuts through the street noise like a razor. It's a simple statement of fact, undeniable, unchallengeable. Mark puffs out his chest, a pathetic attempt to reclaim his dominance. "Yeah? Well, I was talking to her. We have unfinished business." The man's lips twitch again. He doesn't even deign to look at Mark this time. He looks down at me. "Do we have unfinished business, amore?" The endearment, so casually possessive, sends a shiver down my spine. I can only shake my head again, my throat too tight to form words. "There's your answer," he says, his voice dropping an octave, losing its lazy amusement and gaining an edge of tempered steel. "Now walk away before you lose the ability to." It's not a suggestion. It's a prophecy. Mark hesitates, his rage warring with a sudden, dawning instinct for self-preservation. He looks from the man's cold, unblinking stare to the hand clamped firmly on my hip, to the waiting black car and the impassive driver. He sees what I saw. Power. Real power. The kind that doesn't need to shout. With a final, venomous glare at me, Mark turns and melts back into the crowd, defeated. The relief that washes over me is so immense my knees buckle. The only thing that keeps me upright is the iron grip of the man beside me. I sag against him, the adrenaline leaving me weak and trembling. "Thank you," I breathe, the words barely audible. I try to pull away, to put space between us now that the danger has passed. His arm doesn't budge. "Not so fast," he says, his voice once again a low murmur against my ear. That was the performance. Now comes the price of admission. My blood runs cold. I look up at him, my short-lived relief evaporating into a new, more terrifying kind of fear. The amusement is gone from his eyes, replaced by something calculating and hard. What do you mean?" "You used me," he states simply. "You walked up to me on a public street, put your hands on me, and used me as a shield. You made a public spectacle of claiming me as your own. He tilts his head. In my world, such actions have consequences. You inserted yourself into my business, dolcezza. So now you are my business. He gestures with his head toward the open car door. Get in. No, I say, the word a pathetic squeak. I try to twist out of his grasp, but it's like trying to break free from granite. That wasn't a request. His eyes darken, a storm gathering in their depths. Your little drama with that pathetic excuse for a man is over. Your drama with me has just begun. Get in the car. Every instinct I have screams at me to run, to scream for help. But the street is still just a river of indifferent faces. And the man holding me, the safety I felt in his arms moments ago, now feels like the bars of a cage closing around me. This isn't just a stranger. This isn't just a powerful businessman. The chilling certainty settles deep in my bones. My name is Juliette Reed. I just ran from a monster and threw myself into the arms of a devil. And from the moment I touched him, he decided I was his. With no other choice, my body moves on its own accord. I slide into the back of the car. The door closes with a soft, final thud, sealing me inside with him. The world outside the tinted windows seems to blur and fall away. The interior of the car smells like him, that cedar and leather scent, clean and masculine and utterly overwhelming in the enclosed space. The seats are plush leather, cool against my skin. There isn't a single thing out of place. It's silent, a tomb on wheels, insulating us from the city's chaotic symphony. He gets in beside me, the car dipping slightly under his weight. He's too close. His presence fills the entire space, sucking the air from my lungs. He doesn't look at me. He just raps his knuckles twice on the privacy partition. Home, Leo. The car pulls smoothly into traffic, so smoothly I barely feel the motion. Home. His home. The word sends a fresh wave of panic through me. Where are you taking me? I ask, my voice trembling. He finally turns his head to look at me. His gaze travels over my face, my slightly disheveled hair, my wide, terrified eyes. It's an assessing look, as if he's cataloging every detail, every weakness. I'm taking you somewhere you'll be safe, he says, his tone flat. Safe? I'm not safe with you. I don't even know your name. A flicker of something, impatience, annoyance, crosses his features. My name is Dante Moretti, and you are safer with me than you have been in a very long time. That man, he says, his voice laced with contempt. He will not bother you again. The finality in his tone is absolute. It's not a promise of protection. It's a statement of fact. Mark has been erased from my life as easily as wiping a smudge from a window. The thought is both terrifying and darkly comforting. What do you want from me? I whisper, hugging myself. For now, your cooperation. He leans back against the leather, the picture of calm. You created a situation, a very public one. People saw you claim me, my people, my enemies. In my world, perception is reality. To let such a public claim go unacknowledged would be a sign of weakness, and I am not weak. My mind whirls. What is he saying? So, what? You want me to pretend to be your girlfriend for a day? The idea is absurd, but it's the only thing I can grasp onto. He laughs. It's not a pleasant sound. It's a short, sharp bark devoid of any real humor. So naive. Dolcezza, you don't dip your toe into my world for a day. You made a move, and now you're on the board. You will be staying with me. You will continue the performance until I decide it is no longer necessary. Staying with you? You can't be serious. That's kidnapping. Kidnapping is taking someone against their will, he says smoothly, his eyes glinting. You walked up to me. You put your hands on me. You got into my car. From where I'm sitting, you look quite willing. He's twisting it, twisting my desperation into consent. It's a tactic I know all too well, and my stomach churns. I was scared. I was running from my ex. And now you're running with me, he finishes. An upgrade, I assure you. He was a rabid dog. I am the man who puts dogs like that down. We drive in silence for what feels like an eternity. I watch the familiar streets of my neighborhood give way to wealthier, more exclusive parts of the city. The buildings become taller, sleeker, made of glass and steel. Finally, the car descends into a private underground garage, the gate sliding shut behind us with an ominous clang. We stop in a reserved spot directly in front of a private elevator. Leo, the driver, is already out, opening Dante's door. Then mine. I don't move. Dante looks at me, his patience wearing thin. Juliette. Out. How does he know my name? The thought hits me like a physical blow. Mark must have said it on the street, of course. He's been listening to everything, analyzing everything. My feet obey even when my mind is screaming in protest. I step out of the car, and he places a hand on the small of my back, guiding me toward the elevator. His touch is firm, inescapable. We step inside the mirrored box, and he presses a single unmarked button. The doors slide shut, encasing us in our reflections. I look pale and small next to him. He looks like a king in his domain. The elevator ascends with a silent, stomach-lurching speed. I have a job, I say, the words tumbling out in a desperate bid for normalcy. An apartment, a cat. I can't just disappear. Your job will be informed you're taking a personal leave of absence. Your rent will be paid. Your cat, he says, a hint of disdain in his voice, will be cared for. I am nothing if not thorough. He has already rearranged my entire life in the span of a 20-minute car ride. The sheer arrogance, the absolute control, is breathtaking. The elevator dings softly and the doors open directly into a sprawling penthouse apartment. My breath catches in my throat. One entire wall is a floor-to-ceiling window, offering a panoramic, godlike view of the city lights twinkling below. The space is massive, decorated in shades of charcoal, cream, and black. It's minimalist, masculine, and achingly beautiful. It's the most luxurious prison I have ever seen. An older woman with her gray hair pulled back in a neat bun and a kind, weary face is waiting for us. She nods at Dante. Elena, this is Juliette, Dante says, his hand still on my back. She will be staying with us. Show her to the guest suite. See that she has everything she needs. Elena's eyes meet mine. There's no surprise in them, only a flicker of something that might be pity. Of course, Mr. Moretti. This way, miss. Dante removes his hand, and the loss of contact is so abrupt I almost stumble. I have business to attend to. We will have dinner at 8. Another command, not an invitation. He turns and walks toward a home office, shrugging out of his suit jacket as he goes, leaving me alone with Elena. Come, she says, her voice soft with a faint Italian accent. I follow her numbly down a long white hallway. The silence in the apartment is as vast as the view. The only sound is the soft tap of our shoes on the polished marble floor. She opens a door to a room that's larger than my entire apartment. It has its own wall of windows, a king-sized bed, with a mountain of pillows and an ensuite bathroom that looks like it belongs in a five-star hotel. A set of folded clothes, silk pajamas, and a cashmere robe are laid out on the bed. If you need anything, you can use the intercom, Elena says, gesturing to a small panel on the wall. Dinner is formal. She turns to leave. Elena, wait, I say, my voice cracking. She stops, her hand on the doorknob, but doesn't turn around. Please, you can't let him do this. She finally looks at me, her expression softening with a deep, profound sadness. Child, he is not a man who is let to do anything. He simply does it. She pauses, her gaze lingering on my face. My advice? Do not fight him. It is better to be the songbird in his cage than the moth that burns itself on his flame. With that cryptic warning, she leaves, closing the door softly behind her. I'm alone. I walk to the window and press my hands against the cool glass. The city sprawls below me, a glittering, indifferent universe. I am a ghost in this palace, a prisoner of a whim. I think of my small, cluttered apartment, my grumpy ginger cat, my life that was messy and difficult but mine. It all feels like a dream. I touched a stranger, a Mafia boss, and now he's decided I'm his. The reflection in the glass shows a woman I barely recognize. Her eyes are wide with a fear so deep, it's become a part of her. But beneath the fear, something else is stirring, a tiny, hard spark of anger, of defiance. He may have put me in this cage, but I will not be his songbird. I will not just sing for my supper. He thinks he's in control. He thinks he owns me. He's about to find out that Juliette Reed is no one's property. The hours leading up to dinner are a blur of anxious energy. I explore the guest suite, which is less a room and more a self-contained luxury apartment. The closet is already stocked with clothes in my size. Simple, elegant pieces in muted colors. Dresses, trousers, silk blouses. Nothing flashy, nothing that isn't tasteful and expensive. The sight of them makes me sick. He's not just providing for me, he's curating me, dressing his new doll. I shower in the cavernous marble bathroom, using soap that smells of sandalwood and rain. I let the steaming water sluice over me, trying to wash away the feeling of his hand on my skin, the sound of his voice in my ear, but the scent of the soap is too close to his own cologne, and it feels less like a cleansing and more like a brand. I find a simple black dress in the closet and put it on. It fits perfectly, of course. Looking in the mirror, I see a stranger, polished, elegant, trapped. I feel like Persephone, dragged into the underworld, being dressed for her first dinner with Hades. At precisely 8 o'clock, a soft chime sounds from the intercom. Elena's voice, calm and disembodied, announces that Mr. Moretti is waiting for me in the dining room. My heart hammers against my ribs as I walk back down the long hallway. The main living area is now bathed in soft ambient light. Candles flicker on various surfaces, casting long dancing shadows. Dante is standing by the wall of windows, a glass of dark red wine in his hand, staring out at the city. He's changed into a crisp white shirt, the top 2 buttons undone, and dark trousers. He looks less like a businessman and more like a predator in his natural habitat. He turns as I approach, his eyes sweeping over me in a slow, appraising glance. A flicker of approval, or perhaps satisfaction, crosses his face. Punctual, he says. I appreciate that. He gestures to a long dark wood table set for 2. The setting is immaculate. Fine china, gleaming silverware, crystal glasses. Elena appears as if from nowhere, and places a plate of food in front of me before disappearing just as silently. It's some kind of pasta with a rich, fragrant sauce. My stomach is in knots, but the smell is intoxicating. I sit down, my movements stiff and awkward. He takes the seat opposite me. The table is so large we feel miles apart, yet his presence is so intense it's suffocating. We eat in silence for a few minutes. The only sounds are the faint clink of our forks against the plates and the distant muted hum of the city below. The quiet is a weapon, and he wields it expertly, letting the tension build until it's a palpable thing between us. I had your ex-boyfriend looked into, he says finally, his voice casual, as if he's discussing the weather. I flinch, my fork clattering against my plate. I look up at him, my eyes wide. Mark Peterson, he continues, taking a sip of his wine. Sales associate at a mid-range electronics firm. 2 prior complaints for harassment filed by previous girlfriends, both dropped. A gambling problem. Owes money to some very unpleasant people. He sets his glass down. He is a loose end. I do not like loose ends. What did you do to him? I ask, my voice barely a whisper. I simply made it clear that his continued presence in this city would be unwise. He was given a generous severance package from his job and a one-way ticket to somewhere very far away. He took the offer. He spears a piece of pasta with his fork. He will not be returning. My mind struggles to process this. Mark is gone, just gone, wiped from the slate of my life by this man's will. The fear I had of Mark is nothing compared to the chilling awe I feel for the man sitting across from me. He doesn't solve problems. He eradicates them. You can't just move people around like chess pieces, I say, the words feeling feeble and naive even to my own ears. Can't I? He raises an eyebrow. I just did. You should be thanking me. I've given you a clean slate. And what about my clean slate? I counter, finding a sliver of courage. You've taken my life, my job, my home. You've erased me too. I haven't erased you, he says, his voice dangerously soft. I've acquired you. There's a difference. You are an asset now, Juliette, and I protect my assets. The word hangs in the air between us. Asset, not a person, not a woman he saved, an object, a piece of property. The anger I felt earlier returns, sharp and hot. I am not an asset. I am a person. You are the woman who, for reasons I have yet to fully comprehend, publicly declared an association with me, he retorts, his calm finally cracking, to reveal the steel beneath. Do you have any idea what that means? My rivals, my partners, the authorities, they all saw that. They are all asking the same question. Who is she? For you to appear and then immediately disappear would create questions I have no time to answer. It would suggest a vulnerability. So, for now, you will play the part you cast for yourself. What part is that? I challenge, my hands clenched into fists in my lap. My devoted girlfriend, he says, the corner of his mouth ticking up in a smirk. The woman who has captured the attention of the city's most notorious bachelor. You will be seen with me. You will smile. You will be an object of envy and speculation. And you will be utterly convincing, because your safety and the continued well-being of everything you care about depends on it. The threat is veiled, but it's there. He knows about my cat. What else does he know? Does he know about my sister in college, the one I send money to every month? The thought makes me feel cold all over. And what do you get out of it? I ask. trying to understand the twisted logic of his world. A distraction, he says simply. A beautiful, unexpected variable that keeps my enemies off balance. They'll be so busy trying to figure out who you are and what your angle is, they won't be looking at what my hands are doing. He leans forward, his dark eyes locking onto mine. You are my new favorite illusion. Dolcezza. After dinner, he retreats to his office, and I retreat to my room, the cage. I pace the floor like a trapped animal, the plush carpet doing nothing to soothe my frayed nerves. An illusion, a distraction. That's all I am to him. The next few days fall into a strange, disorienting routine. I wake up alone in the silent, sun-drenched room. Elena brings me breakfast on a tray. I spend my days reading books from the vast library in Dante's office, which he allows me access to when he's not there, or staring out at the city from my window. It's a life of quiet, luxurious captivity. Dante is a ghost during the day. I hear him on the phone sometimes, his voice a low, urgent murmur in Italian, but I rarely see him. He returns in the evenings and we have our silent, tense dinners. He asks me questions about my life, my childhood, my degree in art history, my failed attempt to open a small gallery. He listens with an unnerving intensity, filing away the details, learning my pressure points, my dreams, my failures. I, in turn, learn about him through observation. He is a man of rigid routine and absolute control. Everything in his home is placed with geometric precision. He is impeccably dressed, even when he's just in his own home. He has a scar, a thin white line that cuts through his left eyebrow, almost invisible unless the light hits it just right. I wonder how he got it. I wonder about the darkness I see in his eyes when he thinks I'm not looking. A deep, haunting sadness that he quickly masks with indifference. One evening, about a week into my gilded imprisonment, he announces we're going out. There's a charity gala, he says over dinner. A tedious but necessary affair. You'll be my date. Elena has procured a gown for you. My heart leaps into my throat. Going out, in public. It's my first chance to be around other people. My first chance to potentially escape or signal for help. The hope is a fragile, fluttering thing in my chest. Where are the emeralds? He adds, as if reading my mind. They'll be on your dresser. And Juliette? He pauses, his gaze pinning me. Do not even think about making a scene. It would be regrettable for everyone. The unspoken threat hangs in the air. My sister, my cat, my life. The gown is a masterpiece of dark green silk that clings to my body like water. The emeralds are real, heavy and cold against my skin. A necklace and matching earrings that probably cost more than my entire college education. When I look in the mirror, I see a queen, a beautiful, shackled queen. Dante is waiting for me in the foyer. He's in a perfectly tailored tuxedo. When he sees me, he stops breathing for a fraction of a second. His eyes darken with an emotion I can't decipher. It's not just approval. It's hotter, more intense. It's possession. Bellissima, he murmurs, the word a rough caress. He holds out his arm, and I take it, my skin tingling where it touches the fabric of his suit. The gala is a glittering affair held in a massive ballroom. It's a sea of jewels and fake smiles. The air is thick with power and money. As soon as we enter, a hush falls over the room. Every eye is on us, on me. They look at me with a mixture of curiosity, envy, and suspicion. I am Dante Moretti's new mystery. His hand is a constant, firm pressure on the small of my back, guiding me through the crowd. He is charming, smiling, shaking hands, but his eyes are always alert, always watching. He introduces me simply as Juliette, letting their imaginations fill in the blanks. I play my part. I smile until my cheeks ache. I nod and make polite conversation. I let him rest his hand on my hip, lean in to whisper something in my ear that's for show, making me laugh as if he's just said the cleverest thing in the world. I am the perfect illusion, but inside, I'm screaming. I scan the crowd for a friendly face, a police officer, anyone. But these are his people, his world. The police here are on someone's payroll, and it's probably his. There is no escape here. This isn't a window of opportunity. It's a demonstration of his power with me as the centerpiece. Later in the evening, while Dante is occupied with a stern-looking older man, a woman approaches me. She's stunningly beautiful, with fiery red hair and a dress that leaves little to the imagination. Her smile is sharp, predatory. "So you're the new one," she says, her voice dripping with condescension. She eyes my emeralds with a flash of jealousy. "I'm Isabella. Dante and I are old friends." The rival, of course. "I'm Juliette," I say, keeping my voice steady. "I know who you are. The whole city knows who you are. The question is, what are you?" She purrs, circling me like a shark. "You don't look like his usual type. You look soft. He'll get bored of you. He always does." "Perhaps I'm not just a type," I reply, a spark of defiance igniting within me. Her eyes narrow. "A word of advice, little girl. Don't get attached. Dante doesn't have a heart. He had it ripped out a long time ago. All he has now are appetites, and once he's had his fill of you, he'll toss you aside like yesterday's news." Before I can respond, Dante is back at my side. His arm slides around my waist, pulling me possessively against him. His smile doesn't reach his eyes as he looks at Isabella. "Isabella," he says, his voice a silken threat, "I trust you were welcoming Juliette to our circle." "Of course, Dante," she says, her bravado faltering slightly under his cold gaze. "Just getting acquainted." "Good," he says. "Now, if you'll excuse us." He steers me away, his grip on my waist bruisingly tight. We don't speak until we are back in the car, the city lights streaking past the windows. "What did she say to you?" he demands, the silence in the car thick with his anger. "Nothing important," I lie, not wanting to give him the satisfaction. He turns in his seat, his body angled toward me. The car is dark, but I can see the hard set of his jaw, the fury simmering in his eyes. "Do not lie to me, Juliette. Ever. She told me you'd get bored of me," I admit, my voice small. "That you don't have a heart." His expression doesn't change. She's not wrong about the second part. He looks away, out the window. "Stay away from her. She's not your friend." The rest of the ride is silent. When we get back to the penthouse, the tension between us is a living thing. He follows me to the door of my room. I turn to say goodnight, but he's standing too close. His scent, his heat envelops me. He reaches out and his fingers gently trace the line of the emerald necklace against my skin. His touch is surprisingly soft, sending a jolt of electricity through me that has nothing to do with fear. "You played your part well tonight," he says, his voice a low rasp. His eyes are fixed on mine, dark and intense. "You were very convincing." "I'm a quick study," I manage to say, my throat dry. "Too quick, perhaps." His gaze drops to my lips. My heart starts to pound, a slow, heavy rhythm. He leans in closer, and for a terrifying, exhilarating moment, I think he's going to kiss me. I can feel the warmth of his breath on my cheek. My own lips part in anticipation. But then he pulls back, a muscle twitching in his jaw. He drops his hand as if he's been burned. "Get some rest," he says, his voice suddenly harsh. He turns on his heel and walks away, leaving me breathless and trembling in the hallway. I stumble into my room and close the door, leaning against it. I unclasp the emeralds, their cold weight a poor substitute for the heat of his touch. I touch my lips, which still tingle with the ghost of a kiss that never happened. Isabella was wrong. Dante Moretti may not have a heart, but there is something inside that cold, empty chest, a furnace, and I am terrified that I am the one foolish enough to want to feel its warmth, even if it means I'll be burned to ashes. The near kiss in the hallway changes everything. The carefully constructed walls between us now have a crack in them, a fissure through which a dangerous, unwanted tension seeps. The air in the penthouse is thicker, charged with unspoken things. Our silent dinners are no longer just tense. They're fraught with a new kind of awareness. I find myself watching the way his hands hold a wine glass, the way his lips curve when he's thinking. He, in turn, watches me with an intensity that makes my skin prickle. He starts finding excuses to be near me. He'll bring a file into the living room where I'm reading, working in a nearby armchair. He'll ask my opinion on a piece of art he's considering acquiring. His voice a low rumble as he stands just behind my shoulder, his presence a warm weight against my back. These small moments of proximity are a form of exquisite torture. My body betrays me, leaning into his orbit even as my mind screams warnings. One afternoon, a storm rolls in over the city. The sky turns a bruised purple gray, and the wind howls around the corners of the building. The rain comes down in sheets, lashing against the floor-to-ceiling windows. It feels like the end of the world. I'm curled up on one of the massive sofas, a book lying forgotten in my lap, watching the lightning fork across the sky. The power flickers once, twice, and then goes out completely. The penthouse is plunged into an unnerving darkness, the only light coming from the strobing flashes of lightning outside and the emergency lights casting a faint, eerie glow in the hallway. My heart jumps into my throat. I've always hated the dark, a childish fear that Mark delighted in exploiting. I pull my knees to my chest, wrapping my arms around them, trying to control the sudden tremor in my hands. A moment later, I hear footsteps, calm and unhurried. "Juliette?" Dante's voice cuts through the gloom. "I'm here," I say, my own voice shakier than I'd like. I see his silhouette move toward me. He stops a few feet away. In the next flash of lightning, I see his face. His expression is unreadable, but his eyes are fixed on me. "Are you all right?" he asks. There's a note of genuine concern in his voice that surprises me. "I'm fine. Just not a fan of power outages." He is silent for a moment. Then, "Elena keeps candles for this purpose." He moves away, and I hear the soft click of a cabinet opening, the rustle of a box. A few moments later, a match scrapes, and a warm, flickering light appears. He lights several thick pillar candles, placing them around the living room, transforming the space from a terrifying void into an intimate, shadowy sanctuary. He sets one of the candles on the coffee table in front of me, and then, instead of leaving, he sits down in the armchair opposite the sofa. The flickering light plays across the sharp planes of his face, making him look both younger and infinitely more dangerous. Better? He asks. I nod, my throat tight. Thank you. We sit in silence, listening to the storm rage outside. It feels as though we are the only two people left in the world, adrift in a sea of darkness and rain. The usual barriers between us, the power dynamic, the unspoken threats, seem to have dissolved with the electricity. Why are you afraid of the dark? He asks, his voice soft. The question is so direct, so personal, it catches me off guard. I hesitate, the memories threatening to surface. My ex, I say finally, the words tasting like ash. He knew I hated it. He'd trip the breaker sometimes, as a punishment, for arguing with him, or for being late. He'd leave me in the dark for hours. I don't know why I tell him this. Maybe it's the strange intimacy of the storm, or the disarming gentleness in his voice. But the confession hangs in the air between us, raw and ugly. I expect him to say nothing, or to make some cold, dismissive comment. Instead, the look on his face is something I've never seen before. It's a cold, lethal fury. The muscle in his jaw clenches so hard I can see it even in the dim light. I'm glad I sent him away, he says, his voice a low, guttural growl. It was too merciful. The ferocity of his protectiveness is a shock. It's not about protecting an asset. This feels personal. For the first time, I feel like he sees me not as a pawn in his game, but as a person who was hurt. A particularly violent clap of thunder shakes the entire building, and I can't suppress a small gasp, jumping in my seat. Without a word, Dante gets up from his chair and comes to sit on the sofa next to me. Not close enough to be threatening, but close enough that I can feel the heat radiating from his body. Close enough that his presence is a solid grounding force against the chaos of the storm. Tell me about the gallery you wanted to open, he says, changing the subject, deliberately steering the conversation away from the darkness of my past. And so I do. I tell him about my dream of creating a small, intimate space for emerging local artists, a place that wasn't intimidating like the big, sterile galleries downtown. I talk about my passion for art, for the stories a single brushstroke can tell. I talk for what feels like hours, my voice growing stronger, more confident, as I lose myself in the one thing that is truly mine. And he listens. He doesn't interrupt. He just watches me, his dark eyes reflecting the candlelight. And for the first time, I feel seen. When I finally trail off, feeling a little embarrassed by my passionate monologue, he says, "It's a good dream, a worthy one." The simple validation from this complex, dangerous man means more than it should. What about you? I ask, feeling emboldened. What did you dream of before all this? I gesture vaguely around the darkened penthouse, a symbol of his power and his prison. His face shudders, the mask of indifference falling back into place. I don't have the luxury of dreams. Everyone has dreams. I press gently. He looks away from me, into the flickering flame of the candle. I had one once, he says, his voice so low I have to strain to hear it over the rain. A long time ago, I wanted to be an architect. I wanted to build things, cathedrals, monuments, things that would last. He gives a short, bitter laugh. Instead, I learned how to tear things down. There's a story there, a tragedy hidden in those words. It's the story behind the scar on his eyebrow, the story behind the sadness in his eyes. It's the story Isabella hinted at, the one that ripped his heart out. I want to ask, to push, but I know I can't. He has offered me a small, fragile piece of his past, and I have to be content with it. The storm begins to subside, the thunder rumbling off into the distance, the rain softening to a gentle patter. The power is still out. The candlelight casts a warm, golden glow around us, creating a small bubble of intimacy in the vast, dark room. He turns his head, and his eyes meet mine. The space between us feels electric, charged with everything that has been said and everything that hasn't. He's so close. I can see the flecks of gold in his whiskey-colored eyes. I can smell the faint, clean scent of his skin beneath the cedar and leather. He lifts his hand, slowly, as if giving me time to pull away. I don't. I'm frozen, caught in the pull of his gravity. His fingers, warm and slightly rough, gently cup my jaw. His thumb strokes my cheekbone, a feather-light touch that sends a shiver through my entire body. Juliette, he breathes, his voice thick with an emotion I can't name, and then he leans in and kisses me. It's nothing like I expected. It's not rough or possessive. It's tentative, questioning. His lips are soft, warm, moving against mine with a hesitant gentleness that undoes me. It's a kiss full of longing, of a loneliness that mirrors my own. I lean into it, my hand coming up to rest on his chest, feeling the steady, heavy beat of his heart beneath my palm. He deepens the kiss, a soft groan rumbling in his chest. His other arm comes around my waist, pulling me closer until there is no space left between us. This is no longer a performance. This is not for show. This is real, and it's terrifying, because in this one unguarded moment, I realize I don't just fear Dante Moretti. I'm starting to fall for him. He breaks the kiss, resting his forehead against mine. We're both breathing heavily. The air is thick with the aftermath, the silent admission that a line has been crossed, one we can never uncross. This is a mistake, he murmurs, his voice raw. I know, I whisper back. But neither of us moves away. We stay there, in the candlelit darkness, with the dying storm as our witness, caught in the beautiful, terrible mistake we've just made. The morning after the storm, the power is back on, and so are the walls between us. The intimacy of the candlelit darkness feels like a dream, something my fevered mind conjured up. Dante is gone before I wake, and the penthouse is once again a silent, gilded cage. But something has irrevocably shifted. The air is still charged, the memory of the kiss a ghost that follows me from room to room. We don't speak of it. At dinner that evening, the silence is heavier than ever. But it's a different kind of silence. It's filled with the weight of that kiss, the memory of his confession. He can't meet my eyes, and I find I can't meet his either. We are two magnets that have been forced together, and now that we know the power of our attraction, we are terrified of the consequences. A few days later, Dante informs me we're leaving the city for the weekend. I have a house on the coast, he says, his tone clipped and professional. There are people I need to meet with. You'll be coming with me. The idea of being even more isolated with him is both terrifying and thrilling. The penthouse, at least, is in the heart of the city. A house on the coast sounds like the end of the world. We fly in a private helicopter. As we lift off from a rooftop helipad, the city shrinks below us, becoming a toy set of glass and steel. I watch my prison disappear, only to be flown to another. The house is not a house. It's a fortress, a stunning modern marvel of glass and dark wood built into the side of a cliff, overlooking a turbulent gray sea. It's beautiful, remote, and utterly inescapable. The only way in or out is the long, winding road, or the helipad on the roof. His business associates arrive the next day. They are hard-faced men in expensive suits who look at me with cold, assessing eyes. I am introduced, I smile, and then I am expected to make myself scarce. I retreat to a library with a window that overlooks the churning ocean, trying to lose myself in a book, but I can hear the low murmur of their voices from the other room. They are speaking Italian, but the tone is universal, serious, dangerous. This is the other side of Dante, the one I don't see at our silent dinners. This is the Mafia boss. Later that afternoon, I'm walking along a glass-enclosed veranda that wraps around the house, the sea spray misting the windows. I hear voices coming from the terrace below. Dante and one of the other men, a silver-haired man with a cruel mouth named Silvio. I stop, hidden from view by a large pillar. The girl is a liability, Dante, Silvio is saying, his voice sharp. A weakness. What is she to you? She is mine, Dante replies, his voice cold as the ocean wind. That is all you need to know. A new toy? Fine. But people are talking. This distraction of yours. It makes you look soft, unfocused, and with the Petrov situation heating up. My focus has never been sharper. Dante cuts in, his voice dropping to a lethal calm. And I would caution you, Silvio, against ever questioning my judgment again, especially regarding what is mine. There is a tense silence. Then Silvio mutters an apology. I press my back against the pillar, my heart pounding. A liability, a weakness. The words sting. A cold splash of reality after the warmth of that storm-swept night. To them, to this world, that is all I will ever be. That night I can't sleep. The sound of the waves crashing against the rocks below is a restless, angry roar. I slip out of my room and wander through the dark, silent house. I find myself drawn to Dante's office. A sliver of light is visible from under the door. I hesitate, then knock softly. Enter, his voice calls out, weary. He's sitting behind a massive desk, a single lamp illuminating the papers spread out before him. He's pinching the bridge of his nose, his face etched with exhaustion. The scar over his eyebrow seems more prominent in the harsh light. I couldn't sleep, I say quietly. He looks up at me, and for a moment, the mask is gone. All I see is a man carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. Neither can I. I walk further into the room, perching on the edge of a leather armchair. I heard you, earlier, with Silvio. He doesn't look surprised. He just leans back in his chair, his eyes never leaving my face. And he called me a weakness. Silvio is a fool, Dante says flatly. Is he? I challenge, my voice trembling slightly. Or is he right? Am I just putting you in danger? Am I making things worse for you? He gets up and walks around the desk, coming to stand in front of me. He crouches down so our eyes are level. The intensity in his gaze steals my breath. Listen to me, Juliette, he says, his voice low and fierce. My world was dangerous long before you walked into it. My enemies were my enemies long before they knew your name. You are not my weakness. Do you understand? He reaches out, his hand covering mine where it rests on the arm of the chair. His touch is warm, firm. They think you are a vulnerability they can exploit. They are wrong. You are the one thing in my life that is not a part of this filth. You are the one thing I will protect at any cost. His words are a raw, desperate confession. He's not just trying to reassure me. He's trying to convince himself. I am his liability, but not in the way Silvio meant. I am his emotional liability, the one person who can get past his walls, who can make him feel something other than rage and duty. Dante, I whisper, my voice thick with emotion. He leans in, and this time there is no hesitation. His lips crash against mine, a kiss of desperation and longing and a fierce, undeniable possession. It's a kiss that says everything he can't put into words. I kiss him back with equal fervor, my fingers tangling in his hair, pulling him closer. This is more than a mistake. It's a surrender. The next morning, everything is different. The tension is gone, replaced by a fragile, tentative peace. He holds my hand as we walk along the veranda. He smiles at me, a real smile that reaches his eyes and transforms his face. For a few precious hours, we are not a Mafia boss and his captive. We are just a man and a woman, hiding from the world at the edge of the sea, but the world has a way of finding you. We are due to fly back to the city that afternoon. As we are packing, Dante gets a call. I watch as the color drains from his face. The brief softness he'd shown me vanishes, replaced by the cold, hard mask of the dawn. What is it? I ask, as he ends the call. There's been a problem, he says, his voice grim. In the city, Silvio. He's made a move. He's aligned himself with the Petrovs. He's a traitor. The traitor. The man who called me a weakness. What does that mean? I ask, a knot of dread tightening in my stomach. It means we are at war, he says. His eyes find mine, and they are full of a chilling resolve. And the first thing they will do is try to take you. The helicopter ride back to the city is a tense, silent affair. Dante is on his phone the entire time, speaking in rapid, clipped Italian, giving orders. I stare out the window, the beautiful landscape a blur. The fragile peace we found is shattered, replaced by the cold, hard reality of his life, a life of betrayal and violence. When we land on the roof of the penthouse, 2 of his men, faces grim, are waiting for us. They escort us down, their hands never far from the guns I can now see bulging under their jackets. The penthouse, once my prison, now feels like the only safe place in the world. You will not leave this apartment, Dante orders, his voice leaving no room for argument. Leo will be stationed outside your door. No one gets in or out without my permission. He turns to leave, to go fight a war I can't even comprehend. Dante, wait, I call out. He stops, his back to me. Be careful. He turns his head slightly, his profile sharp against the light from the window. I always am. And then he's gone. The next 24 hours are the longest of my life. I am truly a prisoner now, confined to my suite while a silent, stone-faced guard stands outside my door. Elena brings me food, but her kind face is etched with worry. She won't tell me anything. I pace and I wait. Every siren I hear from the street below makes my heart leap into my throat. I try to read, but the words just swim in front of my eyes. My mind is filled with images of Dante, of that cruel-mouthed man Silvio, of a war being fought in the shadows of the city. Late the next night, I'm startled by a commotion in the hallway. Raised voices, a muffled thud. My blood runs cold. I creep to the door, pressing my ear against the wood. I can hear a man's voice, one I don't recognize, and then Elena's, pleading in Italian. Then, the sound of my doorknob turning. I back away, my heart hammering against my ribs. My eyes dart around the room, searching for a weapon, an escape. There is none. The door swings open. It's not one of Dante's men. It's a stranger, a burly man in a cheap suit, with a nasty-looking scar on his cheek. He holds a gun in his hand, pointed loosely at the floor. Behind him, I see Elena, her face pale with terror. And behind her, Mark. My breath catches in my throat. It's impossible. He's supposed to be gone. "Hello, Juliette," Mark says, a smug, triumphant smirk on his face. "Miss me?" "How?" I whisper, my mind reeling. "Turns out your new boyfriend's enemies are very generous people," he says, stepping into the room. "They were looking for a way to get to him, and I was the key. They intercepted me before I could leave town. It was all too easy. Silvio. This is Silvio's work, using the pathetic, discarded loose end to get to me, to get to Dante." "What do you want?" I ask, trying to keep my voice from shaking. "You're coming with us," the man with the gun grunts. "Silvio wants a little chat with Moretti. You're the invitation." My mind races. This is it, the moment of truth. I can be the victim, the weakness, the pawn they all think I am. Or I can fight. I think of Dante, of the surprising gentleness in his touch, the vulnerability in his eyes, the fierce way he vowed to protect me. He trusted me. He saw something in me other than a victim. Now I have to prove him right. "Okay," I say, my voice surprisingly calm. I lift my chin. "I'll come. Just let me get my shoes." Mark smirks, his ego swelling. He thinks I'm defeated, compliant. The gunman nods. I turn and walk toward the closet, my movements deliberate. My heart is pounding so hard I can feel it in my ears, but on the outside, I am a picture of calm. Inside the closet, out of their direct line of sight for a split second, I don't reach for shoes. I reach for the heaviest object I can find, a large, decorative glass perfume bottle from the dresser. I take a deep breath. I think of Dante telling me not to be the moth, but the songbird. No, I won't be either. I will be the fire. I spin out of the closet. Mark is still smirking, unprepared. I don't hesitate. I swing the heavy bottle with all my strength, smashing it against the side of his head. He cries out, staggering back, his hand flying to the wound. The gunman curses, raising his weapon, but my action has created the one thing I needed, a distraction. From the hallway, there's a sudden, explosive bang. The gunman jerks, a red stain blossoming on his chest. He collapses to the floor. Dante stands in the doorway, a gun in his hand, his face a mask of cold, controlled fury. His eyes are not on the man he just shot. They are on me, standing over a groaning Mark, the shattered perfume bottle still clutched in my hand. He takes in the scene in a single, sweeping glance. My defiance, my attack. He sees that I wasn't waiting to be rescued. I was fighting for myself. A flicker of something dark and primal crosses his face. Pride. Two of his men rush past him, hauling a whimpering Mark to his feet. "Take him," Dante says, his voice dangerously quiet, "and find Silvio." They drag Mark away. Dante steps into the room, kicking the door shut behind him. He walks toward me, his gun now lowered. He doesn't stop until he's standing directly in front of me. He gently takes the broken bottle from my trembling hand and tosses it aside. Then his hands come up to frame my face, his thumbs stroking my cheeks. His eyes search mine, looking for fear, for damage. "Are you hurt?" he asks, his voice rough with emotion. I shake my head, unable to speak. The adrenaline is starting to fade, leaving me weak and shaky. "You were so stupidly, breathtakingly brave," he murmurs, his forehead resting against mine. I can feel a fine tremor running through his powerful frame. He was afraid for me. I wrap my arms around his waist, burying my face in his chest, breathing in his familiar scent. He holds me tightly, one hand stroking my hair, his body a solid, warm shield around me. "It's over," he whispers into my hair. "Silvio is finished. It's over." We stand like that for a long time, in the silent room, with the body of a dead man on the floor. It should be terrifying, but it's not. In the arms of this killer, this mafia boss, this devil who claimed me, I have never felt safer in my entire life. In the aftermath, the war is over as quickly as it began. Silvio is dealt with in the brutal, efficient way of Dante's world. Mark is gone, this time for good. The threat is neutralized. The city breathes a collective, secret sigh of relief as the Moretti Empire solidifies its power once more. And in the penthouse, a quiet stillness descends. The guards are gone from my door. The sense of immediate danger has passed. The original reason for our arrangement, the public spectacle, the need for a convincing illusion, is now obsolete. The game is over. I am, for all intents and purposes, free. The knowledge sits in my chest like a stone. I can leave. I can ask him to let me go, and I know, with a certainty that chills me, that he would. He would arrange for me to have a new life somewhere, a quiet, safe life, far away from him and his world. He would do it because he cares for me, and that is the only way he knows how to protect someone, by controlling them or by cutting them loose. A week after the attack, we are sitting in the living room. The sun is setting, painting the sky in fiery strokes of orange and pink. We haven't talked about what's next. We haven't talked about anything. We have existed in a strange limbo, tiptoeing around the truth of our situation. "The deal is done," he says finally, his voice quiet. He's staring out the window, not looking at me. "The threat from your ex is gone. The situation with Silvio is handled. You held up your end of the bargain." He turns to face me, his expression carefully neutral, but I can see the tension in his shoulders, the tightness around his mouth. "You are free to go, Juliette. I will give you whatever you need. A new name, a new city, enough money that you'll never have to worry again. You can have your old life back, or a better one. This is it. The choice. The escape I thought I wanted from the very beginning. He is offering me a golden parachute out of this gilded cage. I think of my old life, my tiny apartment, my constant struggle with bills, lingering shadow of fear that Mark had cast over everything. It was my life, but was I truly free? Then I think of the life I've had here. The fear, yes, the confinement, but also the moments of unexpected tenderness, the safety I felt in his arms during the storm, the fierce pride in his eyes when he saw me fight back, the way he listens when I talk about art, the man who dreamed of building cathedrals and instead learned to tear things down. I look at him, this powerful, broken, dangerous man, and I know I can't leave. Leaving him would feel like tearing out a part of myself. "I don't want a new life," I say, my voice clear and steady. He looks at me, confusion and a flicker of hope warring in his eyes. "What are you saying?" I stand up and walk over to him. I take his hands in mine. They are strong, capable of both violence and surprising gentleness. "That first day, on the street," I say, looking directly into his eyes, "you told me I claimed you. You said I inserted myself into your business." "Juliette," he starts, but I shake my head. "Let me finish. You were right." I did. I made a choice out of desperation, and it threw my life into chaos. It threw me into your life. I squeeze his hands. Now I want to make another choice. Not out of fear, not because I have to. A real choice. His breath hitches. He waits, his entire body rigid with suspense. I'm not your asset anymore, Dante. I'm not your captive, and I don't want to be the illusion you hide behind. My voice softens. I want to be the woman who stands beside you, not because of a deal or because of a threat, but because I choose to. I raise one of my hands to his face, my fingers gently tracing the faint white line of the scar through his eyebrow. I choose this. I choose you. A wave of raw emotion washes over his face. Shock, disbelief, and a profound, bone-deep relief that makes his knees seem to weaken. He pulls me to him, his arms wrapping around me in a desperate, crushing embrace. He buries his face in my hair, and I feel the shudder that runs through him. You have no idea what you're choosing, he whispers, his voice thick and ragged against my ear. My world will chew you up and spit you out. It is a life of ghosts and blood. Then we'll face it together, I murmur, my arms tightening around his neck. You don't have to tear things down alone anymore. Maybe we can build something instead, something that lasts. He pulls back just enough to look at me, his whiskey-colored eyes shining with an emotion I now recognize as love. A fierce, possessive, all-consuming love that is just as dangerous and beautiful as he is. The original contract is void. Our initial arrangement, born of fear and opportunity, is rendered meaningless. This is our new pact. He leans down and kisses me. It's not a kiss of passion or desperation. It's a kiss of promise, a seal, a beginning. I am Juliette Reed. I ran from a monster and threw myself into the arms of a devil, and in his arms I found not a cage, but a kingdom, and I choose to be his queen. Tube Chef, AI logo, AI-powered content creation platform, built by creators for creators. Streamline your workflow and produce content faster. I never thought the city would swallow me whole and spit me out at the feet of a devil. I never thought that running from one monster would land me in the arms of another. But here I am, no longer the girl who panicked on a crowded street, no longer the woman trembling at every shadow. I made a choice. I stepped into his world, and now I'm standing in it with my eyes wide open. This isn't the fairy tale I thought I wanted. It's darker, sharper, messier, but it's also the first time in my life I've felt truly seen, truly fought for. Dante Moretti isn't my savior, and I'm not his prisoner. What we are, we're still figuring out. But tonight, under the weight of everything we've survived, I know one thing. I'm not running anymore. If you've been with me through this story, through the noise, the fear, the storms, and the slow, dangerous pull of something like love, thank you. Tell me in the comments, would you have walked away? Or would you have stepped into the car? Like this video if you felt my heart racing. Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next dark, slow burn love story. Until next time, keep your heart fierce, your choices your own, and never be afraid to rewrite your story.